Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills nights get loud. Big EQB, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it on a Sunday, ready to go with a recap from UFC Perth that happened last night. And yeah, it wasn't too horrible of an event, but we got some other news from around combat sports and MMA and everything else, but not a whole lot going on, just enough to keep us going for the night. But of course, we had to get this recap in of UFC Perth that happened last night with Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes for the main event. What up, Infinity? How you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, so that was the event last night. I was celebrating another friend's birthday, just like I was last weekend, except there was no fights last weekend. But I always have something going on lately. I don't know what's happening. It's gonna continue to be busy for the next few weeks. I just found out I might actually be doing this show on the road come next week, or I mean for Thursday, because my light seems a little bit low. I'm gonna see on the fly adjustments. There we go. That's a little better. I might have clicked it a few too many times. I think that's fine. But anyway, yeah, I might be on the road for the Thursday show, which will be the preview for UFC 320, which is the next pay-per-view coming up on Saturday. And we actually have that fight watch party podcast for that fight, is what I was trying to say. So of course I'll talk about that on Thursday, and we'll preview the whole card on Thursday. But that is the Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira rematch. So I'm kind of excited for that one, just because obviously pay-per-view is always fun, and when we get to have the watch party, you know, it's fun as well, even more fun, I should say. And we're gonna have a full house in here for next week, so that'll be cool. And yeah, I'm just excited about these fights, because we also have Merab Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen. That's gonna be a good fight. There's no way. I mean, it could be boring, but Sandhagen is always a fun fighter to watch fight. And if you don't like Merab's style of fighting, I understand that. But at the same time, you know, he still is dominant, and he's been rolling and doesn't seem to be slowing down. So I feel like it's going to be a good one between him and Sandhagen. So I don't know if he's going to run right through him, but I feel like it's going to be a decent fight at least, because Sandhagen's no pushover. So I don't know that he has what it takes to beat Merab, but I definitely think he's going to give him a decent fight. But also we have Yuri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree. That is fucking fire right there. That is going to be a fun fight, I think. Especially with Yuri, you know, seemingly trying to just make his way back up, and Roundtree has just been, you know, doing great on his own too. So I feel like that's going to be a good fight. Josh Emmett versus Yusuf Zalal, and Abus Magomedov versus Joe Pyfer. So that's your main card. And it looks like we have a few decent fights on the prelims that are listed so far. So yeah, not bad. Definitely looking forward to that one. Austin Vanderford back. Oh shit. Finally. He made his UFC debut, and then I don't think we've seen him since. So that's cool. Anyway, yeah, so we have that coming up next week. But on Thursday, I might be on the road. It just depends. I'm not sure. Or else I might do the show on Wednesday. I got to see what's going on. I saw an email, which means, yeah, I have to work things out a certain way. I just don't know if it's going to work out like I wanted to or not. But either way, I'll have a show. It'll just either be early or it'll be on the road. Either way, I'll have a show, because we have to preview UFC 320. And Bare Knuckle is this upcoming Saturday as well, I believe. I think that's the Mike Perry versus Jeremy Stevens fight. So that should be pretty fucking good. Actually, I have a screenshot, because the Combat Sports Today page is a good one to follow on all social media because they give you all kinds of information. They keep up with absolutely every part of combat sports, um, which I feel pretty confident in saying because they do. I wish I could keep up as much as they do because damn. Let's see. But I'm happy to collab with them, and that's always good. So we got PFL Championship Series 2, Usman versus Hughes rematch. Oh, Brave CF Georgia versus the World happening on Friday along with PFL. There's a one fight night, which is usually on Fridays. And then Saturday we got BKFC 82 Perry versus Stevens. And then some other ACA Cage Warriors Octagon, but then UFC 320 and A1 Combat 30 all happening on Saturday. So a bunch of combat sports coming up this weekend, but I mean, we're most interested obviously in UFC 320, but BKFC is always fun too. So and actually Perry versus Stevens is an interesting fight. So I'll be excited to see what happens with that one. And then that PFL fight could be good as well. It's PFL. You got to kind of hope to just see some good highlights coming out of there. That's pretty much what you're waiting on with that one. But for the most part, UFC 320 looks like it's going to be a great one. And let's hope it all stays together because, we've seen a lot of weight cutting injuries, a lot of mishaps with weight misses. I can't even talk. Weight misses and injuries happening. So we don't want to see any of that for UFC 320. We want to keep that one intact. So hopefully it stays intact. Oh man, my eye got watery. I feel like something was in my throat and making me cough. Sorry. All right. So before we go too far, get some Noctane smelling salts going. Of course, you got to give thanks to my sponsor, Noctane smelling salts. And this one hit me pretty hard last time I did it. So we'll see how this goes. And I noticed that there was some clicking coming from this fan. And I feel like I fixed it because I haven't heard it yet. So hopefully you don't hear that in the background. I felt like I was hearing it last show in the background, but it doesn't always come across to you guys. So hopefully that wasn't in the audio because that's annoying, that ticking in the back. But I think I fixed it. So we'll turn that off for a second. Get some smelling salts going. I need this right now anyway, so perfect timing. Here we go. If it worked. Oh, man. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Woo. So when it starts to wear off, you really got to get in there. Oh, but damn. And then it hits you hard. You should have some mail as well. Oh, shit. I don't think I checked my mail. Damn it. I forgot. Fuck, my bad, Infinity. I totally forgot about that shit. That sucks. A couple days ago. Like it was delivered a couple days ago? Because I think we got the mail every day except for Saturday. Yesterday, I don't think I got the mail. So, if it did, damn, I wish I would have remembered. That sucks. Yep, in mailbox. That's why. We tend to never check the mail on Saturdays, and I had a busy-ass Saturday. I went and played golf during the day, and then I wound up at our friend's house that we played golf with, and we played some cornhole, and we were having some drinks, and then I came home and rested up a little bit, and then we went straight over to my other friend's house where we celebrated his birthday. Happy birthday to Andrew. And that was a busy ass Saturday. I didn't get home till late. And then this morning, we went to watch football with everybody. So it's been nonstop. I've been nonstop. I totally forgot about the damn mail. And I passed by the mailbox today when we came home too. My bad. I fucked that up. I knew I was forgetting something too. But, oh, by the way, thank you, Noctane, for the sponsorship. Go get yourself a bottle. There's a link in the description below, or scan that QR code and check out their website. Yeah, but now I'm pissed because I wish I would have remembered the mail. Damn it. That's fine. I'll have to go get that and put it up. So hopefully I will be doing my show from here. But if not, it's gonna make its debut on a on a watch party. We'll see what happens. That's gonna suck for the watch party though, because we're usually blocking that spot. I'll make it work. Who the fuck knows? Anyway, I'm gonna get off that because I'm annoyed at myself. But thank you, Infinity. I appreciate that. So yeah, time to get into what we're here for, and we'll get started with the UFC Perth recap. Here we go. UFC Perth happened last night in Perth, Western Australia. So yeah, there was, I didn't really touch on this as much as I wanted to in the last show, and that's just because I got wrapped up in talking about everything with the card and what was happening. But there was these rumors about the card not selling well, like in Perth, and it just seemed like there was not a lot of people in attendance initially, or it didn't seem like. I wasn't paying full attention to the crowd because I kind of one of those things where, yeah, that sucks to hear, but who really gives a shit? We're watching the fight on TV. It is what it is. I just heard about it all over the place. Everyone was talking about how it wasn't selling well in Perth. So, but I also heard something about the nosebleed seats being about like $400 plus. So of course you're not going to sell a lot. So it sounded like they were discounting tickets in order to get more sold. But it's like, why are we putting nosebleed tickets at $400? This shit is insane. You're a multi-billion-dollar fucking company, and you have to put your ticket prices at an insane amount, as if we're not paying enough money already. But I guess they're gonna, drain everyone's bank account by, charging a shitload of money to watch it live, since all of the pay-per-views are gonna be gone after the first of the year. I don't know. I never know what happens. But hey, that's the state of the world today. Everything is fucking expensive. It's insane. Like, you go get your car washed through one of those like drive-through car washes, and the one I normally get was like $5 more since the last time I went, and I'm all, what the fuck happened here? So yeah, a lot of money being spent for shit, and I know people are probably like, hey, just wash it at home. I'm gonna have to start doing that. It's so convenient to just drive through, but I might have to just watch it at home now, find the time, because yeah, it's tough. The drive-through is what, 10 minutes tops, as long as it's not too crazy. And yeah, doing it at home is a lot of cleanup and takes a lot more time, but might have to do that because it's crazy paying that much for a car wash. And that's one of many things that is so damn expensive these days. But we could go on with that forever, and that's not what we're here for. But we are here talking about how expensive those tickets are for a live event for the UFC. And that's not probably going to change anytime soon, unless they really start feeling those events not being populated. But that was Perth. In the US, they seem to always get sold out. They didn't seem to have too many problems in other areas that I've heard of lately. So that's not necessarily something that we can refer back to as a common practice at the moment. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see how UFC 320 works out, because that is a pay-per-view event, and those tickets are, of course, going to be way more expensive. And if the nosebleed seats in Perth were that expensive, God, I can only imagine what T-Mobile Arena is going to be going for. But who knows? Maybe it was a regional thing, but I don't know why it would be so expensive over there. It's crazy. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that. But yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see what the attendance is like. But they always talk about record-breaking attendance, but the record-breaking attendance is because everyone's paying quadruple the amount of money they were paying like fucking 5 years ago, maybe. So it's insane, but it is what it is. That's the state of our world these days, and that sucks. So back to the main topic at hand, which was UFC Perth, Oldberg versus Reyes. And I heard a lot of people kind of doubting Oldberg and being able to, including myself. I was thinking that Reyes has fought higher level competition and is at the point where he is steadily trying to come back up the rankings and make his way into a, being a contender, a high level contender, and being able to get a title shot again soon. But unfortunately, Carlos Oldberg was on a 5-fight win streak and ready to do the same thing. and he had a little more in him on this night. So of course we'll dive into that one a little deeper as soon as we get there, but I like to start with the prelims and work our way up. So just to give, you know, a little shine to everybody on the card, because there was some good fights in the prelims, although the prelims did have a substantial amount of decisions, which we know doesn't always mean it's a shitty fight, but it does mean that it was long fights that maybe didn't have a lot of action, or, you know, didn't live up to expectation on certain aspects. So you never know what you're going to get with a decision, but when you see a finish, it could be a shitty fight till the end. At least you have that outcome of a finish, whether it be a submission or a knockout. And when you see that at the end of a, you know, for the result of a fight, you know you're going to get some kind of excitement at some point. But when you see that decision, you're like, ooh, was that a shitty fight? Was it just a long drawn out, you know, shit fest, or was it a good exciting fight? Could have been possible fight of the night type shit, you know? You never know with it. So that's why decisions are weird, and you can't really judge a book by its cover on those sometimes, even though I do a lot. But that's because most of the time I've actually seen the fight. So anyway, there was a lot of decisions on the prelims, unfortunately. Looking at the whole lineup, we had two finishes in the prelims. 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights on the prelims, and we had 2 out of those 7 finishes. The rest were decisions. There was a lot of fights that were dropped from this card, including the Jonathan Mikhailov versus Oban Elliott fight dropped out, which sucks because Oban Elliott's a fun fighter to watch, and that was going to be a great fight, I thought. And then we had obviously we knew Junior Tafa versus Ibo Aslan was dropped as well. Daniel Santos versus Yu Ju Song, and then one other fight that I didn't even know was on this card. Plus, then we had Justin Tafa dropping out as well. So yeah, it was just, maybe I have that backwards. Justin Tafa dropped out before. Let me look, because holy shit, there's so many fights that yeah, Junior Tafa dropped out first, and then Justin Tafa dropped out after. Whatever, who gives a shit? But yeah, Justin Tafa versus Louis Sutherland was canceled because Tafa had an illness. Junior Tafa had an injury, so he pulled out of the fight versus Ibo Aslan. And then what was it? Oh, Elliott had an illness as well. So I wonder if Justin Tafa and Oban Elliott had some kind of the same thing going on, considering they both dropped out, you know, after weigh-ins and everything. Who the hell knows? It sucks though, because those were 2 fights I was kind of looking forward to. And Louis Sutherland was making his UFC debut, and there was a little bit of hype around him, so that could have been a good one, and it just didn't come about. So it is what it is. Anyway, we'll get started with these prelims, and that was starting with the women in the strawweight division. We had Luma Lukbunmi versus Alexia Thainara to start off the night, and they started off with a decision, and it was a win for Alexia Thainara, which a lot of people were high on Lukbunmi, but Thainara was definitely on a roll and came in ready to go, and she pretty much, you know, kept the upper hand in this fight. That puts her at 2-0 in the UFC, with her other fight being against Molly McCann, where she got a submission in the first round and a performance in the night bonus. So I mean, she had a tougher opponent, or not tougher, but at the moment, I guess tougher, because Molly McCann didn't have the best record in the UFC, but that was still an impressive win for Thainara. And she beat Lukbunmi by unanimous decision. And, you know, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about in that fight, except for the fact that, you know, she pretty much handled Lukbunmi throughout the whole fight. And that was how that one ended. So then we get to Brando Pierchik versus Elisha Ellison, and Pierchik got the first finish of the night with a KO win over Ellison. and he winds up getting the first performance of the night bonus as well. As you can see, lands that big left hand on that left picture, and then the ground and pound where Allison was putting up a fight, but man, Pierchek just landed that big left hand, as you can see in that picture on the right hand side, and that put Allison out cold. I mean, it was kind of a flash, I guess, but yeah, he was out, and he went limp for a second, and then he came back too. But damn, that was a nasty KO on the ground, and Pierchek gets the win. First round finish, 1 minute and 55 seconds in the heavyweight division. Brando Pierchek gets the KO win. Next up, we have the second women's fight, Michelle Montague versus Luana Carolina, and this one was a bloody one. Montague had a cut in her head that was draining all over the place. But I mean, this wasn't the most exciting fight. I mean, it wasn't horrible. It was. I think it might have been a little more interesting than that first fight, but it did go all 3 rounds, and Michelle Montague gets a win by unanimous decision, and she continues to be undefeated. I believe that was her UFC debut against Luana Carolina, and that puts her at 7-0 with 1-0 in the UFC now. She was 4-0 in PFL and 1-0 in Bellator as well. So she's got a pretty good record. Maybe not the highest level of competition in the rest of her, in the rest of her fight schedule from the past, but with a good win over Luana Carolina in her first UFC fight, that puts her at 1-0 here, and she looked pretty good. And I believe she was supposed to be on the Contender series and wound up getting the call up right away to fill in on this fight. So it's good on her to make a statement coming in and getting the win in her first UFC fight in the women's bantamweight division. So next up, we had Colby Thickness versus Josias Musasa, and yeah, some blood going on this one, man. There was definitely some hard fought battles in some of these fights in the prelims. Blood on the canvas early, but Colby Thickness took it to a unanimous decision win over Musasa. But I mean, it was a pretty decent fight overall. Thickness goes up to 8-1 with that win, puts him at 1-1 in the UFC, so he gets his first official UFC win over Josias Musasa, who is now 0-2 in the UFC with losses to Carlos Vera and now Colby Thickness. So he needs to see what's going on before he gets that third loss. If they don't cut him already, I mean, sometimes that happens with a 2-0 start like that, but you never know. And if he gets his chance to come back, he's gonna have to make a statement to try to be able to stay in the UFC, especially losing his first 2 fights like that. The first one was by finish too, so a finish and a decision loss for Musasa. We'll see what he does coming back. Those are his first 2 losses of his career too, so he comes into the UFC at the higher level of competition and is not really able to hang just yet. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to continue, but we'll see. He was the slight favorite in that fight as well, surprisingly, because Colby Thickness, is kind of the protege of Alexander Volkanovski, but he was 0-1 in the UFC coming in, where he got a unanimous decision loss to Alexandre Topuria, which that's a tough opponent. So I'm glad to see him get a win here and see what he does next, how he builds on his first win in the UFC in the men's bantamweight division. So that brings us to the lightweight division. Jamie Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Man, Mullarkey, not only okay, so when I hear his name, I'm just like, yeah, that dude is it's a particular name that you just kind of think, man, I wonder what that guy looks like. And then you see him and you're like, that name fits him. It's kind of weird. But I don't know what's up with his his eyebrows. It's just crazy. But this fool just went out there and landed some great punches on Bedoya and was able to, you know, and it always looks like he's in pain. Mullarkey always looks like he's in pain. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but man, it's hard to tell by looking at his face if he's getting beat up or not, because he always looks like it's like everything is painful, even when he's swinging. And I think that's just, you know, he kind of has the mean look on his face all the time. But, you know, as you can see in that picture, both the pictures, honestly, just looks like he's in pain, even though he's the one dishing out the big punches. So yeah, it's crazy, but he got the win here by unanimous decision in the lightweight division. He looks constipated. He kind of does. But Mullarkey goes to 6-6 in the UFC. That's a fucking tough record. He was on a 2-fight losing streak, but he lost to Nasrat Haqparast and Mauricio Hufi. So those are tough opponents for him, for anybody really. So yeah, he gets back in the win column with this win over Rolando Bedoya, who drops down to 0-4 in the UFC. That is insane. Chaos Williams, Keenan Song, Jai Herbert, and now Jamie Mullarkey. I wouldn't doubt it if we see fighter removed from the roster on this one and Bedoya gets cut after his 4th loss in a row, unless he has something that the UFC seems to like. But I haven't heard much about this guy, so I wouldn't expect to see him in the UFC any further after his 4th loss in a row, and his only 4 fights in the UFC have all been losses, so that's a tough one. Next up, we have Cam Rouston versus Andre Petrovsky. And man, I was thinking Petrovsky was going to do a lot better in this fight. But 2 minutes and 41 seconds into the first round, he got finished by TKO. Punches and elbows from the top position, as you can see in both of these pictures. Rouston's dropping that big punch on the left and then the elbow on the right. And yeah, it's just he got him down to the ground and was able to, you know, take advantage, get the dominant position, and rain down those punches and elbows for the ground and pound win in the first round over Andre Petrovsky. So that brings Cam Rouston up to 13-3, and Petrovsky goes down to 13-5. Rouston is now, that was actually his UFC debut, so he's 1-0. I was thinking of his contender fights. He's 1-1 in the contender series, but now he is 1-0 in the UFC, coming off of that contender series win that he got a TKO in the first round in that one as well over Brandon Holmes. So 2 fights in 2025 for Cam Rouston, 1 in the contender series, 1 in the UFC, and both of them are first round finishes. That's a damn good way to start your UFC career. Even though he dropped his first ever contender series fight back in 2024 to Torres Finney, but that was a unanimous decision. So, you know, he worked his way through some of the lower level organizations, had a few fights down there, comes back to the contender series, puts on a show, and then does the same in his first official UFC fight and gets the win. So that's good shit on Cam Rouston's part. So we'll be looking forward to seeing him. And before I forget, the first fight of the night between Thainara and Luke Boonmi was the only fight that didn't have an Australian fighter in it. Every other fight did, and so far to this point, every fighter, every Australian fighter has won every matchup. So the Aussies were doing well, and it continued in the featured prelim with Navajo Sterling versus Rodolfo Bellato. I keep saying Bellato because I'm thinking Bellator, and I think I said that all last show. Then I heard Bellato and I'm like, oh yeah, I mean Bellato. See, I did it again. It's just one of those names that it could probably be said either way, but I keep thinking Bellator, so I just say Bellato so I don't say Bellator, and it's actually Bellato. Either way, this is the guy that I was kind of annoyed with. I've seen him in his past couple fights, and he's just, the way he fights is annoying. Just little things that bug me about him. But Navajo Sterling came in 7-0, undefeated, was 2-0 in the UFC, and he improves to 3-0 now with a unanimous decision win over Bellato. And he was able to kind of just, I don't want to say overly dominate Bellato, but he definitely looked good in this one. Bellato didn't have a whole lot for him. I think he had a couple spurts of some decent striking going on, but for the most part, Navajo Sterling was able to get the best of Bellato in this one, and that puts Bellato down to 1-1 in the UFC. He's actually had 4 fights. Like I talked about last show, he had that majority draw with Jimmy Crute, and then a no contest with Paul Craig, which was the one that I was super annoyed with. I think it was a low blow or something like that happened in that one, and he just couldn't shake it. And I don't know, it seemed very weird the way he handled that. So that's what I was kind of annoyed with. So now he drops his first UFC fight. So now he's 1-1 in the UFC. He actually has ones across the board, which is crazy to see with somebody who's had 4 fights in the UFC and has 1 tick in every category: win, loss, draw, no contest. It's crazy. But yeah, that's Bellato. So Navajo Sterling. What up, Boars? How you doing? Welcome in. Thanks for coming back. How'd you enjoy that fight? I don't know if you liked it or not. A lot of people were not happy with the card and not really looking forward to it. So I always kind of wonder how everyone else felt it went after the fact, because I mean, and when it comes to the main card, which we're about to touch on right now, we had more finishes than we did decisions. I think we only had 1 decision in the entire card, for the main card at least, after all the decisions that happened in the prelims. So I mean, it turned out a little better than I thought, because Bellato has been 1-1 yeah, draw, no contest, loss, and win. Exactly. That is yeah, that's an insane stat. I don't this guy just drives me nuts, man. I feel like it's not a surprise that he has that going on in his record, because he's just one of those guys. I don't know what it is about him, but I don't expect to see him lasting a long time in the UFC. He just doesn't seem like the type. I don't feel like he's going to handle adversity well. So we've seen him kind of show signs of that already. So I just don't see him lasting too long in the UFC, but I could be wrong. Maybe I just have some sort of weird thing with him. He just rubbed me the wrong way with that last fight, I guess. So let's move into the main card and get started with a finish right away. First fight of the main card. We had a first round finish, 4 minutes and 8 seconds into the first round. Tom Nolan versus Charlie Campbell in the men's lightweight division, and Tom Nolan comes out on top with a rear naked choke submission finish in the first round, as you can see in that right hand picture. Great comeback win with Nolan after. Yeah, exactly. Campbell was doing fairly well, but Nolan was able to catch him with that little uppercut, and he kind of just caught him off guard, it seemed like. And Tom Nolan was able, damn it. No, yeah, I said that right. Tom Nolan was able to get him against the cage and take him down, and then he was able to get his back and sink in that rear naked choke, which was good in the very last minute of the first round. So he was able to get that first round finish, and it was a good way to start the night with the main card. And yet again, another Aussie winning. So up until that point, we had a clean sweep of fights for the Australians. Lightweight has so many prospects to look out for. Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, now Tom Nolan's 10-1, and that makes him 4-1 in the UFC. So now he is on a 4-fight win streak. So, and it looks like his competition's getting higher and higher. So he got the performance of the night bonus as well. But yeah, we definitely have a lot of prospects in the lightweight division, which makes me excited for that, because I like the lightweight division. It's like right in the middle, and we always tend to get really good fights in that division. So I'm definitely looking forward to all these up and comers, especially with all the guys that have stepped out of the lightweight division and either retired or moved up a weight class. So all these guys that are up and coming are definitely going to give us some good fights in the future in that division. So it's definitely one to look at. Charlie Campbell drops to 9-3 after that loss, puts him at 2-1 in the UFC. He was on that 2-fight win streak coming in, and drops a submission loss to Tom Nolan. So Next up was the first fight of the night without an Australian win, and that was Neil Magny versus Jake Matthews. But this one was a little funky. The way that this one went down was weird because in the first round, I mean, Neil Magny was just not doing great. It didn't seem like, even though apparently he was up on the, he was winning when it comes to significant strikes. He had more significant strikes than Jake Matthews, but it just didn't seem like it. Like the way that the fight was going, the way it seemed in the first round, even, it just seemed like Matthews had Magny's number. But then Magny put himself in stupid positions and continued to get stuck in submission attempts from Jake Matthews, which by the end of the first round landed him in a rear naked choke on the ground. And or was it a guillotine? No, it was a rear naked, I think. No, it might have been a guillotine. I don't even remember at this point. But at the end of the first round, last few seconds, he's stuck in this submission and he's got his arms wrapped around Matthews, and then he kind of let one of his arms go, like he was letting it go. And I guess after the fact, you see that he was letting it go, kind of like, hey, is this guy gonna get off me or what? Because the bell rung for the end of the round. But it also seemed like the ref stopped the fight because it looked like maybe he thought Neil Magny's arm went limp because he went out from that submission. So it was kind of a weird thing. Jake Matthews gets up and starts celebrating. Everyone else is celebrating. They open the cage door and they bring in the seats and all that, and then no one knows what's going on. And then we find out quickly that it was the end of the round. But it was a very close type thing where it seemed like the ref called the fight, but then the time ran out before he called the fight. So I'm not really sure. It was weird. This literally was like the Mike Malott fight. Yeah, it was just like, what the fuck? Like at the last seconds. And then, first of all, why did Neil Magny drop it? Like, that was such a bad look for him to drop his arm like he did. But I get it, you know, in hindsight, when you look at the other angle of the replay, you see that he kind of put his hand, he's like this, and then he kind of put his hand out like this. But the way he did it was slow moving, where it almost looked like he was going out and like his arm just went limp, but he was really just moving his arm away so the guy could get off of him. And yeah, I guess it could have been seen as he was going out, but the ref seemed to have called it, but not really. I don't know. It's a tough one. We've seen plenty of early stoppages with submissions. If they stop it, it should be over. Yeah. I mean, do you think, Boris, that he actually stopped the fight, or do you think that he was like kind of in that in between where he was like, I didn't just stop the fight, I was just telling him, you know, that the round was over? Or did he stop the fight after but that's the thing, does that matter? If he stops the fight after the end of the round, is that considered a stoppage? I don't know. I think that's the problem here, and that's what makes this one super confusing. Either way, the fight continued on, and we went into the second round because, you know, Neil Magny responded right away and was like, no, I'm not out. Like, I'm not out. That's not it. So, and then he stood up and he was good, and he's like, I'm going to my corner, I'm sitting in my stool, and I'm gonna do my thing and come back out for that second round. And Jake Matthews was confused. Everyone else was running all over the place doing the normal in between round stuff. And then the second round started. So we just like, and I'm sitting here watching this one in a way where I'm kind of watching but not watching, inadvertent, like just watching here but like not paying attention to everything. So I'm thinking Neil Magny just got finished. Turn around and look back, and I'm like, hold the fuck on, the fight's still going. So, and I didn't have the sound up either, so I had no idea that the end of the round was up or none of that. It was confusing. But the Borchev versus Chase Hooper fight, it was similar to this, and they stopped it when Borchev was protesting. Yeah, it's definitely weird. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I hate these because you can always find, it's always happened in the past before, and you can always find that fight where it's like, well, in this one they did this, and in that one they did that, and that makes it even more confusing. It's like, fuck. All we know is what wound up coming of this fight, which was it continued on. We made it even into the third round, and Jake Matthews was, I feel like, winning the fight, the entire fight. I mean, the second round was closer than the first round, I think, but especially with that damn near submission at the end of the first by Matthews. But Neil Magny has this horrible problem with shooting in and getting himself stuck in bad positions where he gets put into submission attempts. And I mean, that's why it's just, I feel like that's why he loses his higher level, you know, fights against, you know, more elite opponents, because he puts himself into bad positions at all times. And it was like, how many fights do you have? Like, why do you keep doing this shit? You would think he'd learn by now. I mean, he's 31-13 overall. I think he has like, yeah, he's 24-12 in the UFC. That's fucking insane. That's 36 fights, which he's won 2/3 of those. That's pretty good, but when you look at the numbers, it's like, damn, you got double digits in wins and losses in the UFC alone. Exactly every win we've seen has been like a fluke, never a dominant performance. Yeah, and I hate that for Magny, because I kind of like the dude at first, but now I'm just like, what? Your fight IQ is horrible. But like, what the fuck are you doing? Well, every time I was watching the fight, like paying attention, and then when I watched it back, especially when I watched it back, obviously I was paying more attention. But when I watched it back, I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Why is he continuing to put himself in these bad positions? Like, he needs to be in a bad position to fight out of it and do something. Doesn't make sense. But we get to the third round, and he finally is doing something worth the shit. And I don't know if Matthews got worn out. I don't know if he just got frustrated. But at this point, you know, Magny was turning it up, and I'm sure he knew he was down 2 rounds, because I don't think he won either of those first rounds. But I mean, I could be wrong. But I don't think he won any of them. So I think he knew he had to do something in that third, and he finally started turning it up a bit and waking up. And I know that that's kind of a thing with Magny, that he's a slow starter, but this doesn't make sense, man. At this point of your career, you're not able to just do something different and get things going. Like, it's like he likes being a gatekeeper or something. But again, this is what I said before. He loses the fights that he should win, that he needs to win to continue to climb that contender ladder and make it to a title shot for as long as he's been in the UFC. But he always drops those big fights. And then the fights that he, you know, doesn't matter so much that he wins or not, because they're like lower level competition, and those are the ones he always wins. Somehow, some way, like Boris said, exactly every win we've seen has been like a fluke. So it's what it seems like, because he just never comes out and is super dominant. But you know, he's had so many fights in the UFC. I mean, it's just one of those things. We're never going to see him as a high level contender or ever getting a title shot, because he's at that point in his career where he's too old to change things up at this point. I mean, too old in fight years, because I don't think he's actually that old overall. Well, he's 38, so in fight age, that's old. So I hate to say it, but it's true. In your entire life, of course, if you're a 20-year-old, you think that's old, but us old people are more like 38. That's still somewhat young. You got some time. So yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I don't see Magny being able to turn things around and really get any big runs going, but it is what it is. I just wish his fight IQ would get better, and he would wake up and fucking do something earlier in the fight, and then, you know, just stop putting himself in those bad positions. It's like the perfect thing to do to get yourself stuck in a guillotine, and he does it. The perfect thing to do to get yourself stuck in, you know, in a rear naked choke, and he does it. It's like he lets someone climb on his back, and he's just like, it's like he looks at it like a challenge that he doesn't usually win. But he won this one, and he got lucky after that first round. He was able to turn it around, sinks in a Darce choke on Jake Matthews 3 minutes and 8 seconds into the third round, and he gets the win, and fucks up the perfect record for the Australians. Up until that point, there was 7 fights on the prelims, and then the first main card fight. So that was 7 total fights in a row that the Australians won in Australia. So it was looking good. And then Neil Magny comes in. The controversy happens where the Australian would have won if they would have called that the end of the fight, and they didn't. So Neil Magny comes in and spoils that perfect record for the Aussies that night. So yeah, I'm sure he busted somebody's all Australian parlay because most of the time people either parlay all of them throughout the card, or they'll parlay just the main card ones. So no matter what you did there, unless you only parlayed the prelim ones, you lost that bet. So that sucks. But I've seen a lot of people doing that with these regional cards, you know, where you get like a Paris card or a Mexico card, and they'll parlay all the Mexican fighters or all the, you know, Paris fighters on there, and then that's, you know, that's their parlay bet, and they win because they've been sweeping those cards. But not this time. So Neil Magny spoiled that. Even though I'm not sure he should have, considering the way that first round ended. But anyway, we'll move back into the main card, and we had Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Tavares, and we had another, or the only decision on the main card between these two. But it was a pretty fun fight to watch. I mean, Jack Jenkins, his kicks, man, are crazy. He, you know, he does a lot of high kicks, and he lands them. He lands them even with the defense up there. He gets them through, and his opponent feels them. So that's why, you know, you can always find a picture of him with a kick in one of his fights landing, or at least looking good, because he kicks a lot and they're pretty effective. Tavares missed weight twice. I think he could be coming to an end of his UFC career soon. Oh shit. Did he miss? Oh yeah, I do remember seeing that he had a horrible weight cut, which sounds like it's a thing for him. What did they fight this one at? It still says 145. Did he miss weight completely? I don't even remember. The lead up to this one was weird. I heard a lot about weight issues and stuff coming in, and then, you know, we had all the fights that dropped out. It's just, it was a kind of a mess of a card. So, but yeah, Jack Jenkins was able to get the win by unanimous decision. Like I said, it was a pretty fun fight. I mean, Tavares got his in, you know, got some in on Jenkins, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't crazy. Jenkins just seemed to be putting together some combinations well, cutting off the cage pretty well, and Tavares just didn't have an answer for him. So Jenkins gets the win, gets the Aussies back in the win column for the night, and gets that win in the men's featherweight division by unanimous decision. Next up, we had the co-main event, Jimmy Crute. And this one was a fun fight to watch versus Ivan Erslan. Jimmy Crute had that canal clutch? Oh, you're talking his submission. Oh, camel clutch. Yeah, what it's called the well, they call it, see, it's weird because they call it a rear naked choke on Tapology, but I heard it called the can opener or something like that, and I would assume that's just because of the way that choke looks. It's like under the chin. It's not really even a choke. It's almost like a half choke, half face crank. But that's what Boris is talking about there. But yeah, Jimmy Crute gets the Aussies another win with a first round submission of Ivan Erslan in the first round, 3 minutes and 19 seconds in. And Jimmy Crute winds up getting a performance of the night bonus on that one. I was worried about Crute head defense. He was getting hit a lot. That's what I was going to say too. Jimmy Crute, that's what he does. He gets hit a lot, which sucks because I saw something about him saying that he was sick of talking about the come from behind fights or whatever, because I guess he doesn't see it as coming from behind because maybe he just doesn't care that he gets hit a lot. Maybe he's one of those guys that wakes up when he gets hit, and so he likes to get hit, and that's what gets him going. You never know. There's been plenty of guys like that in the past that's kind of how Cowboy was. He would have to get hit. He was a slow starter, and then he would wake up when he got hit for the first time, and next thing you know, Forrest Griffin was like that too. Wouldn't be doing anything. Next thing you know, he gets hit with a couple good shots and he's awake and active. So Jimmy Crute's kind of like that too. He does get hit way too much though. So if he comes up to, you know, in the light heavyweight division, you get hit that much by big dudes like that, you're not gonna have a big chance against the elite. So Jimmy Crute needs to work on his defense. Because damn, just like Boris said, he was worried about Crute's head defense, and yeah, there's nothing truer to be said, because he definitely gets hit a lot. But he pulls out the win here and takes him to 14-4 with the win over Erslan, and that puts him at a 2-fight win streak because he had that previous win by submission over Marcin Prachnio back in July of this year. Gets a performance of the night bonus here. Erslan is now 0-3 in the UFC. That puts him at his 3rd loss in a row for his only 3 fights in the UFC. But he's had some pretty stiff competition with Ian Cutelaba, Navajo Sterling, and Jimmy Crute. So Jimmy Crute's the only one to finish him so far, and that was a first round submission here last night. And then Sterling and Cutelaba took him to decisions. So 0-3 for Ruslan. We'll see if he continues on in the UFC after 3 losses in a row for his only 3 fights in the UFC, which sucks. Next up is next up and the last one, the main event, Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes. As I was saying earlier, a lot of people were talking Dominic Reyes and the run he's been on, coming back from that loss and all the losses he had after losing to John Jones in that really close fight that a lot of people thought he won for the title. And he seemed to, get into a depression or something like that. Oh, Boris said Reyes got dropped like a sack of potatoes. He sure the fuck did. Here's the thing, man. Carlos Ulberg, what was he? He's 7-0 in the UFC or 8-0 in the UFC. Maybe not 8-0. What was 8-1? Yeah. And now he was now he's 9-1. And he was on like a 5-fight win streak, I think. Maybe more. What the fuck am I talking about? Why am I getting things confused? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He was on the 8-fight win streak. I had that right the first time. And this puts it at 9 in a row for Ulberg. And I mean, he beat Jan Blachowicz, Volkan Ozdemir, Alonzo Menefield, Ihor Pretoria, Dawu Jung. He's beat a lot of big name guys. And he gets a performance of the night bonus here with the TKO of Dominic Reyes. Or I should say KO. That was a fucking, like Boris said, he got dropped like a sack of potatoes. But to me, it didn't seem like Reyes even ever got started. He put together a couple combinations here and there, but nothing that was overly dominant and like impressive. This was vintage Ulberg we just saw. Yeah, he looked locked in. He looked completely ready to go, and he was ready to get started from the get-go. His last few fights, he played it safe. That's a good point, man. Because his last few fights, he won by a unanimous decision against Ozdemir and Blachowicz. He hadn't won by finish since May of 2024, and he got a performance of the night on that one too against Alonzo Menefield with that 12-second TKO. Before that, he was finishing everybody. He had 3 other TKOs and a sub. So yeah, he definitely played it safe with Blachowicz and Ozdemir. Probably pays off for him though, because now we're talking he's going to be in attendance for UFC 320 with Ankalaev versus Pereira. So with that, who knows? Maybe they're putting him in line for the next title shot. And if he gets that, I mean, look, he's going to be there. Maybe he gets in the cage and faces off with the winner. And we just got Yuri versus Khalil. Oh, yeah, and Yuri versus Khalil. You're right. So, shit, this is like, I mean, Ulberg versus Yuri or Khalil would be a fun fight, too. But I could see them giving Ulberg the title fight. But, I mean, what happens if Pereira beats Ankalaev? Are they going to want the trilogy fight right away? I guess it kind of matters how it goes down. Like, does Pereira knock him out fast? Or does it, is it a long drawn out decision? I don't know. Because if Pereira loses again to Ankalaev, there's no way he's getting another crack at it unless everyone else falters and he steps in on short notice or just jumps in because no one else can beat Ankalaev. Who knows? But I think one way or another, he's moving up to heavyweight at some point. I can see that happening for sure, because Pereira just continues to grow like a kid that's on, growing up. Every time we see him after a few months or something, he just looks bigger. So I don't know what's up with that. But Pereira's a monster. So we'll see if he sticks around at the 205 division and for how long after he wins or loses, because I could see him making the move at any point in time. We've seen him do it in the past. So But if he regains this title, it's like insane the amount of titles he has won in a short period of time. So that's what's interesting about this fight coming up next week for the main event. I just got into talking about that. But Boris brought up the good point about Yuri and Khalil next week. So yeah, with Olberg now in the picture, that could mean a lot for that division. So we got some excitement going on at the top of the light heavyweight division, and that's always fun when we have the bigger guys doing big things. As we know, the heavyweight division is not very exciting right now. There's not a whole lot going on there, with John Jones stepping out when he's supposed to fight Tom Aspinall. Now we got Aspinall as the the champion. And what sucks though is that he's the champ, but the division sucks right now. If he's the champ when the division's hot, that makes things even better. You know, if he would have become the champ because he beat John Jones, that would have been the best. And there would be so much more hype around him. But it's unfortunate he gains the title and by default because John Jones retires. But I still, a lot of people still think that Aspinall would beat Jones anyway. For me, I want to see it. I want to see it happen. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with Aspinall and Cyril Gane next month for that fight, and to see what happens, because then let's see, that's in late October. So then we got November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. That's 8 months out. I could see Aspinall wanting to get in there, but look how long he waited before he fought this time, with John Jones kind of playing around with the whole back and forth shit. He's been out for a while, so it's like, fuck, maybe he does wait till the White House card and fights John Jones on that. Who knows? We'll wait and see. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm getting ahead of myself. But Carlos Oberg in the picture. My Paramount Plus will be waiting. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, this year has gone by so fucking fast, and we're almost at the end. But the exciting part about that is, pay-per-views going away. The not exciting part is we get older. That sucks. For us old guys, that is. Anyway, Carlos Oberg with the big win. Like I said, Dominic Reyes just didn't seem to ever get started. He put together a couple decent combinations here and there, but basically did nothing to Oberg at any point besides a possible eye poke during that punch that landed in that left-hand picture. But that was the big combination that dropped him. And as Boris said, he dropped like a sack of potatoes, because he truly did. And Oberg was able to land another extra shot on him. But wow, it was a nasty combo that dropped Reyes. And Oberg comes up with the big KO win in the main event for UFC Perth, and puts the Aussies at only one loss throughout that entire fight card, which consisted of all Australian fighters except for the very first fight of the night. So that means, let's see, we had how many total fights? 12 total fights. So the Australians won 10 out of those. Yeah, 10 out of those 12 fights. 10 out of the 11 that they were in. So that's a crazy stat. That's pretty good for the Australians. And we had nothing but Australians getting the performance of the night bonuses as well. There was 4 of them handed out. That was Brando, Pierchek, Tom Nolan, Jimmy Crute, and Carlos Oberg all getting performance of the night bonuses. So congrats to them. Oberg with the big KO win over Dominic Reyes in the light heavyweight division. And then that's it for UFC Perth. So wasn't too bad of a card, man. I mean, being the way the main card went down, I feel like, we had the Jack Jenkins and Tavares fight that went to unanimous decision, but it was a fun fight to watch. I mean, there was some action, and Jenkins keeps it active and made it a good fight. And then we had the weirdness in the Neil Magny Jake Matthews fight that almost went all 3 rounds, with Magny coming out with a submission win, though. I mean, he turned it up in the end, and he got us to be excited about that finish. So, but with that weirdness after with the end of the first round, it makes it a weird fight. So, otherwise, though, we had all finishes. They were exciting. They were good finishes, and that's a submission and 2 submissions and a TKO win. So, not a bad card overall. But guess what? That's just leading us into UFC 320, which is coming up on Saturday. make sure you're here on Thursday, possibly Wednesday. The best way to know when I'm going to be live is to hit that notification bell after you submit. I was reading submission. After you subscribe, if you haven't already, and if you haven't, don't have that notification bell clicked, make sure you do that. It'll tell you when I go live or put out any content. So, and if you're here now, go hit that like button as well, because it's easy. Oh, damn, submit. Yeah. So if you're here, make sure you hit that like button as well, because it's super easy to do. It takes you a quick second, and that helps me out. So that's your recap of UFC Perth. Not a bad card, in my opinion. Let's move on to Dana White's Contender Series, Week 8, coming up on Tuesday. And the Contender Series has been on a roll. If you paid attention last week on Thursday, when I recapped last Tuesday's fights, we had some great fights. We had 6 fighters coming out with contracts. As you know, there's usually only 5 bouts on the card for the Contender Series, so that means we had 1 fight with 2 fighters getting contracts, and that was the women once again. Only the second week with women in the fight on the fight card, and each time that the women have fought, they've had exciting fights and have all come out with contracts. So that's a pretty good one for the women there. So we'll see if that continues whenever they pop back up on the card. But as for Tuesday, Charles Jourdain brother fighting. Louis Jourdain. Oh shit! Yeah, that is that his brother? I didn't even know. We got a fighting nerd on the card too, it looks like, huh? Magno Diaz? Looks like he's wearing the fighting nerd's glasses. Let me look at that real quick too. Does it say fighting out of? No. Does it say what is? It doesn't say. What the fuck? And now I have an ad playing somewhere and I don't know where. Holy shit. Let me try to find out where this is playing from. There we go. I found it. I just heard some woman's voice in the background and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Diaz trains with the fighting nerds. I just realized. Yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out. So yeah, Diaz, a fighting nerd. So damn, we got some pretty good names on this card. I hadn't really even looked at it, to be honest with you. I was gonna go through it for the first time right here, right now. So I found the graphic and I just quickly looked at the names, but I didn't even realize Jourdain being a Canadian. And then while Diaz is just like from Brazil, that's all you see on this picture. But looking at the topology, yeah, Diaz is a fighting nerd. So that should be interesting. We'll see if we have another one on the come up. He is not undefeated like the other guys were coming in. That could be a good thing for him. But let's get started with the first fight on that card. We got Rashid Vagabov versus Paulo da Silva. Vagabov is 13-2 overall, and he's coming in on a 5 fight win streak from UAE Warriors and Eagle FC. He's fought in those. He hasn't lost since 2021, and out of those 5 fights, he only has 1 decision. The rest are submission wins. So we're looking at a ground fighter here versus Paulo da Silva, coming out of Brazil, 11-1 overall, and he is shit. He hasn't lost since his first fight of his career. So he's on a 10 fight win streak, coming in from LFA. That was where he fought last. He had a title in Karumba Fight Combat. I don't know what that is, but his last win was against Hugo Paiva, and he got a decision win in LFA back in May of this year. So coming in to the Contender Series on a big win streak. So we'll see if he can keep that up against Vagabov. And it looks like Da Silva is 9-0 in submissions and 2-0 by decision. He doesn't have any wins on the feet. He's only lost on the feet once. So that should be interesting, man. This could be a hard-fought jiu-jitsu match on the ground. But we'll see what that first fight of the night gives us. Next up, we have Curtis Campbell versus Demba Sek. in the men's featherweight division. Curtis Campbell's coming in at 7-0, and obviously on a 7-fight win streak. He was a champ in FCC, where he defended his title twice after he won the belt. So that is Campbell, and Demba Sek is 10-2 overall, coming in on a 7-fight win streak. Big mix of submissions and TKO wins, only one decision within those 7 fights. And he's coming in from Impact Championship. Also fought in Global Warrior Champions and WSC, whatever those are. But you know, all the regional kind of events and organizations are out there. But yeah, they're all coming in on big win streaks here. Campbell looking to keep that undefeated record. And Sek looking to just get that contract, man. I mean, should be a fun fight there. Next up, we have the welterweight division. Christopher Alvidrez versus Eliezer Ubanza. Wow. All right. So we got Alvidrez with 6-1 in the welterweight division. He is on a 6-fight win streak. All those being TKO except for 2 are decision wins. Hello, folks. What's up, Magics? And then we got Kubenza is undefeated at 7-0. Where's he fighting from? Brave CF, coming in from Brave CF, trying to make his trying to get into the UFC with his Contender Series, with a Contender Series win here. So yeah, we'll see how he does coming in from Brave CF, which, if you remember, I interviewed the Brave CF president not too long ago. So that is on this channel. You can go back and watch that interview. It was an interesting one. So you can kind of see this Tuesday what a Brave CF fighter is like and how he fights, coming over from Brave. They seem to have a pretty good organization over there, and a lot of good fighters that should be on the come up. And they've had some fighters come up to the UFC and become champions, like Ilya Topuria, Hamzat Chimaev, and a bunch of other contenders. So if you want to listen to that or watch that interview, check it out on my channel. I get those interviews through collabing with Combat Sports Today. It also lives on that channel as well, so you can go subscribe to them, give it a like, and watch it there, watch it here. I don't care. It's all good. But yeah, follow them too. They put out a lot of combat sports news and info, and a lot of interviews with fighters and people in the industry. So, and I've had a few interviews with them, so you'll always see my interviews come out on their channel first. So go give them a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff. Next up, we got who we were talking about, Louis Jourdain, which is Charles Jourdain's brother, fighting Magno Diaz, who is a fighting nerd. 8-3 for Jourdain, coming out of Canada, obviously. And he is on a 4-fight win streak. Samurai MMA. PVG, what's up, PVG? Welcome in. Thanks for jumping in. Did you guys have technical difficulties again? Because you guys are usually going longer than this. I know that's what happened last week, so hopefully not. Hopefully you guys just ended early. Christian Garcia's, what's up, bro? Welcome back. Hoping now we finished early. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's better than technical difficulties, because yeah, I know that seemed like some freak thing that happened last week with you guys. But if you're into Star Trek, you can go watch Technically Trek with DJ Magix and Peter Van Gorkum. I think I said that right. It's PVG from what I know. But they are both a part of that podcast. If you guys want to check that out. If you're into Star Trek, I'm not particularly, but because all my attention goes to MMA, but that's just because I don't know, it consumes me. But other people, a lot of people are into Star Trek, so you know, go check it out. And then that's our buddy Tommy too, who you've seen on this channel before. He's jumped in on a couple podcasts back in the day with me. But Christian Garcia 320 is going to be fire. Hell yeah, man. I can't wait for that. We're doing a watch party too, Christian. So jump in if you can and talk it up with us during that. That will be next Saturday. Obviously, we go live when the main card goes live as usual. And yeah, I can't wait for that one, man. Infinity, who's in the chat here right now, will be in studio live with us for that watch party, so that'll be badass. And then we will have Clark and Bob Dolan here with us too. If you saw the last watch party, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go check it out. You can go into my playlist and find that last one and go watch that from the last UFC pay-per-view. Need my $20 back. You and Clark, man. Yeah, so we got the Fighting Nerd versus Charles Jourdain's brother as the second to the last fight, or co-main event, if you will. Definitely will. My boy Baldy gonna be there. Oh yeah, you talking Clark? Yes, he will be here. Him and Bob Dole. So it should be a fun one. You know, Clark is a staple here. That fool never misses. He's only missed I think one in a long time. So I appreciate him for that. Anyway, our main event for the Dana White's Contender Series Week 8 will be Vitor Costa versus Damian Piñas. And Costa is 8-1, coming out of Brazil, fighting in the middleweight division. He is coming from LFA. Or no, he's coming from Jungle Fight. I'm sorry. He was a champ over in Jungle Fight. Defended and won a second belt, it looks like. With all of his recent fights have been by finish, except for one by decision. He's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fight win streak. So coming into the Contender Series, fighting Damian Piñas, he is 7-1 overall, and he's on a 3 fight win streak as well. So that should be a good main event for Dana White's Contender Series, happening on Tuesday. So check that out. I think they go on 5 o'clock Arizona time. That's where I'm at. So I don't know. You could check it out for your time zone. A quick Google will find you that easily. And yeah, that's it for Dana White's Contender Series Week 8. A little bit of combat sports news before we get out of here. And we'll start with something I talked about. I think I talked about it with Infinity when he was on. Ronda Rousey. Is she coming back to MMA? Is she coming back to the UFC? That's yet to be seen, obviously. But there's a lot of chatter about it. A lot of rumors going around because of an Instagram post that she made a few days back, where she's talking about and showing a progression of about 8 months after, or something like that. I think it was 8 months, where she jumped back in and started training again. And she said that she was embarrassed by the deterioration of her skills. She should just relax on her farm. Yeah, that's what we were saying when we talked about this before. And I kind of dismissed it, but there is a lot of chatter going on about whether she's going to come back and fight or not, because she showed that progression and she kind of looked like the Rousey of old when they showed the recent training footage where she's hitting pads and stuff like that. But we know that Ronda Rousey's striking was never that great when it came down to it, because we saw how that fell apart and how she got exposed at the end of her career. And I hate to say it that way, but it's kind of true, because when she finally fought elite strikers, she got handled, and she got handled bad. And as soon as she lost that first fight, it was over for her. She didn't need to fight anymore, and she still came back and got absolutely mangled by Amanda Nunes. So that was a bad idea after getting head kick KO'd by Holly Holm. So that's why she exited the sport the way she did. Holm kicked her head off her shoulders too. Yeah, exactly. But, you know, again, we saw the striking being kind of fugazi when she was showing off, you know, her training, you know, back then too, because of her coach. Everyone knew that Edmund was kind of a fluke, and hyped her up as if she was the best boxer striker in the world. And we found out that that was completely untrue. And a lot of her wins were due to, you know, the competition not being up to par for where she was at. But until she met Holly Holm, that is. But the thing is she did a lot for the sport, and I still respect the hell out of her and her career. I hated the way she exited, but I always had this feeling that that would be kind of what she would do, because she just has an attitude that works for MMA, I guess, but it doesn't really work for the social part of all of it. But she's still a huge star because she's the woman that put women's fighting on the map. I mean, you know, getting into the UFC. Of course, there was many that came before her, including Gina Carano, Chris Cyborg, a lot. I mean, Julia Budd, Misha Tate was there. I mean, there's so many women that pioneered the sport, and you know, but she was the one that was able to bring it into the UFC after Dana White saying women would never fight in the UFC, and then she came in and made waves and got her belt handed to her, and she kept it for a while. So you can't really downplay it too much, as much as you want to say that she wasn't having the best competition ever in there. We saw what those girls were doing before they met Ronda Rousey, and whether they got beat before they got in the cage with her, or just that aura beat them before they ever got to the actual fight, who knows. But Ronda Rousey handled a lot of women, so in the cage, that is. And it was a fun rise to watch, and it was a fun career to watch, and you know, there was a lot of hype and there was a lot going on. She's a mega fucking superstar, and then she just exited and wound up in WWE and was a fucking huge star over there too, and then exited in a similar fashion just to go away. And I mean, I get it, she started a family, you know, she has a husband and kids now, but it's looking like she's training a lot, and she's been asked over and over. You know, she popped her head out at a few different events. She was at Slap Fighting, and well, yeah, she definitely did movies too, but that's a whole other story. We're talking about combat sports right now. But she did do a few other movies, big movies too, Fast and the Furious, and what the fuck is the other one? Man, I just lost the fucking stupid movie that she was in with all the old school action heroes. What the fuck was it called? Anyway, who gives a shit? But she was in some huge movies, so you can't downplay that either. Because again, she's superstar, super mega superstar. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, I don't know that she would rise to that again, but there's definitely a lot of hype around whether, you know, a lot of hype and rumors as to whether she's going to come back. But she says, you never say never, but I ain't fighting on the fucking White House, which I mean, I'm assuming she means in the White House or on the White House card, or I don't know. But it's Ronda, like sometimes she just says some weird shit. But that seems to be the statement that's going around, because most people are thinking, hey, maybe she's making her way back to training like she is to get ready for that White House card, because everybody wants to be on that White House card. Everybody. But you know, and Ronda being was it one of Expendables? Yes, thank you, PVG, I appreciate that. Yes, Expendables. I kept thinking like the replacement, and I'm all, that's not right, even though it's sort of fitting. Because the Expendables were kind of like a washed up old action hero movie. But sorry, I don't know if you like Expendables, it's cool, but I didn't particularly enjoy it that much. But yeah, she was on Expendables and the Fast and Furious. So yeah, that's what it was. Thank you. Shit, that was bugging me too. But yeah, everybody wants to be on that White House card, so everybody's thinking that's what she was kind of gearing up for, but it doesn't sound like it, because she says she's not fighting there, but you never know. Could be just a way to get people off her back about it for now. We'll see if she comes back at all. She might just be doing it to get back into shape. She just had a kid not too long ago, her second child, and you know, people use these types of trainings to get back in shape, especially when you were a fighter in the past. So it makes sense for her to maybe never fight again. But everybody always wants to romanticize that and bring it back to the forefront and say, what if? And now, because she's training, it seems a little more feasible, but I don't know that it's going to happen. We'll have to just wait and see. But of course I will cover it, because that is big news if she comes back. And that division could use the help, I guess, for the most part. I mean, Kayla Harrison being our only U.S. champion in the entire fucking UFC. She's a great champ, I mean, but she's only been there for a short period of time. And she didn't fight Amanda Nunes to win that title, so that sucks, because that's the fight we all want to see. But with her being a multiple-time gold medal winner in the Olympics for judo, we all know that Ronda Rousey was a high-level judoka as well, but she only won the bronze once. And I believe that Ronda actually beat Kayla at some point in judo. So there's that going for her as well. But with all that being said, that's why there's so much speculation and, you know, rumors as to whether she's going to come in and fight again or not, being that Kayla is the champ in the division that Ronda used to be the champion. So that would be interesting, on top of a possible third or second fight with Amanda Nunes too, after being dismantled by her back in the day, which ended her career. So yeah, and then she has history with Juliana Pena as well, because Juliana Pena was on Miesha Tate's team during the Ultimate Fighter. And yeah, Juliana Pena being a former champ as well, there's all that history. So Ronda still has some things to look at when it comes down to coming back to the UFC and fighting. There's some possible matchups. Obviously, Amanda Nunes has not been back and fought in an official fight for the UFC since she retired, but she's announced that she's coming back. And to my knowledge at this point, she is. So imagine Amanda Nunes, Ronda Rousey back in the UFC with people like Juliana Pena being a former champ, still trying to get her belt back at some point. And then Kayla Harrison, all that history there makes the top of that division interesting for the women's bantamweight division if all these women come back and fight again. So it's something to look forward to. And if it happens, then that would be awesome. If it doesn't, we'll roll on and see what stars we can have come up and rise out of that division. So our last topic at hand is another somewhat sad one. As if you didn't know, Wanderlei Silva, the axe murderer, should have been done fighting a long time ago. Just like all these other guys who retire and just can't seem to get out of their own way, he is fighting in a boxing match and doing some dirty shit too, like throwing his head like a punch in this boxing match, basically headbutting the shit out of his opponent, gets disqualified. Of course, the corner of the opponent he's headbutting is pissed about Wanderlei fighting dirty. So an all-out brawl ensues in the ring. We got Fabricio Verdum in the corner of Wanderlei Silva. Fabricio being former champion in the UFC, as well as, you know, fucking Wanderlei being an animal too. These fools are in the ring, fucking swinging at people. There's an all-out brawl, and you see just a pile up in the corner of the ring, and you see Wanderlei Silva bouncing in and out of that, you know, massive brawl that's happening, and some people scatter out from it. Next thing you know, Wanderlei Silva's out cold, flat on his back. Couldn't really tell what happened until you slow down the video a little bit and see this little miniature pit bull guy fucking reach up and crack Wanderlei. Wanderlei goes out cold on his back. Verdum appears to, right after, just maul the shit out of that little dude that knocked out Wanderlei. But they pulled Wanderlei Silva, as the brawl continues, by the way, all around Wanderlei. They pull him over to the corner. His lifeless body looked like he fucking got ejected from a vehicle, or fucking got shot, and people were dragging him away from danger. Like, it was insane, dude. I don't even know what the fuck was happening here. People are getting knocked out left and right in the ring. Just chaos. And this was some sort of international event. I believe the broadcast was speaking Portuguese or something, so I didn't even know. It was hard to tell. But yeah, as you see Wanderlei in the right hand side after he gets, you know, ambulanced away, definitely has a massive concussion, because he posted saying he was not doing well. He's had a nonstop horrible headache. He said he's, you know, sore and hurting in various different areas. He obviously had a nasty brain injury at this point, considering the way he got knocked out cold on the ring, banged his head as he hit it was nuts, dude. I just I was in shock when I saw it, because I mean, we watch a lot of knockouts happen. And this was nasty. It was like a fucking shotgun to the face, just out cold, done. And it was hard to even see the punch land. So it was just nuts. Wanderlei needs to stop, man. I know he thinks he's still the axe murderer, but he's definitely not. And he needs to step away from combat sports and stay out of the way of getting hit anymore, because he's gonna wind up getting seriously injured at some point in time, or possibly lose his life from some kind of problems from getting hit in the head like he does, because he obviously, his chin was not great at the end of MMA, and we've seen him in other, you know, events that he hasn't looked good in, and then to get KO'd like this by a little guy of all things, when he just was in a boxing match and obviously not fighting fair and just doing dumb shit. So I don't understand it at all, but Wanderlei needs to take care of himself and his health. He needs to get better from this and just maybe learn a lesson. But I'll tell you one thing, Fabricio Verdum looked like he still had it. That motherfucker was in there throwing fools left and right, knocking people out, just landing punches and fucking wailing on people. So Fabricio Verdum might still have some fight in him. I don't know that he's as old as Wanderlei. I don't remember at this point. It's been a long time since I've looked at any of his stats and stuff, but yeah, Verdum was in there handling people, and while Wanderlei was out cold on the mat, so that sucks. So wishing for the best for the Axe Murderer. I hope he gets well soon and learns from this and steps away from combat sports altogether before something worse happens. It's that time. It's been that time for a while, man. So please let your legend exist as it is, and stop doing this. It's one of the few times I will say that to a fighter, because I'm just like, man, I don't want to see him get seriously injured. This was enough. So that's it for that, and that's it for me for this episode of the GRP. Thank you to everybody who joined in and interacted with me in the chat. I appreciate that. PVG, Magic's Infinity, Christian Garcia, Big Boars MMA. Appreciate all you guys for all the interaction and the support, and for watching the show. Make sure you guys hit that like button before you get out of here if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and so you know when I go live or when I put out any content, because like I said, I'm not sure yet what's happening this week. If it's going to be Thursday, if it's going to be Wednesday, will I be in the studio or will I be out of town? I have no idea yet. I will find out more tomorrow, but I will be back later this week for a preview of UFC 320. We'll talk about the Watch Party podcast going on for the main card of 320, and any other fight news, combat sports news that might come up between now and then. And we'll talk about other fights that are happening as well, like BKFC, Mike Perry versus Jeremy Stevens. So we got some good stuff coming up. Come back later in the week, and thanks again for all the support. Thanks for the interacting and joining in. Appreciate everybody here. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.